A 17-year-old girl, cello in hand, is kicked off her flight to the most important audition of her life. The reason? A first-class passenger felt threatened. But the airline, Global Airways, just made the biggest mistake of its corporate life. They didn't just humiliate a teenage musician. They humiliated the daughter of Marcus Washington. And in the next 60 minutes, every passenger on that plane, the entire airport, and the airline's CEO would learn exactly what happens when you cross the wrong family. Stick with us, because this isn't just a story of discrimination. It's a story of epic, billionaire-level karma. The air in John F. Kennedy International Airport's Terminal 4 was thick with a familiar cocktail of anxiety. Stale Cinnabon, jet fuel, and the unspoken tension of 1,000 people trying to be somewhere else. For Amara Washington, 17, that somewhere else was everything. She sat at gate B24, her back straight, her hands resting on the polished, deep red curves of the hard shell case beside her. Inside was Gabriel, her cello. It was an 18th century Italian instrument, a gift from her late mother, and it was her ticket. In less than 24 hours, she and Gabriel had an audition slot at the Juilliard School. Amara was not your typical 17-year-old. While her peers were navigating high school drama, she was mastering Elgar's cello concerto. She was a prodigy, but she wore it quietly. She was dressed in simple black jeans, a grey sweater, and sneakers. Comfort for the flight. Her hair was pulled back in intricate box braids. She looked down at her phone, rereading the email confirmation for the 10th time. To Amara Washington, from Global Airways Special Services, RE Flight 451, JFK to LAX, special baggage. Dear Ms. Washington, we confirm pre-boarding for you and 1 cello. As the instrument is too large for the overhead, it will be stowed in the first-class cabin closet, as per our policy. Please see the gate agent upon arrival. She'd done everything right. Her father had taught her that. Be twice as good, twice as prepared, and never give them an excuse. Her father, Marcus Washington, was a man who lived by precision. He was the founder and CEO of Aeroprime Dynamics, a name whispered in boardrooms and aviation circles, the company whose navigation and logistics software ran nearly 70% of North America's air traffic. But to Amara, he was just Dad, the man who checked her homework and quizzed her on musical theory. We will now begin pre-boarding for Global Airways Flight 451 to Los Angeles, a tinny voice crackled over the PA. This includes passengers in first class, our Platinum Medallion members, and anyone needing extra assistance. Amara stood, her heart thumping. She wheeled the heavy cello case behind her and approached the gate agent, a tired-looking man named Frank. "Hi," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I'm Amara Washington, seat 22A. I'm pre-boarding with my cello. I have the confirmation here." Frank barely glanced at her phone. "Right, cello. You'll board with first. Go ahead." Amara nodded gratefully and moved into the priority lane, joining a small line of seasoned business travelers. As she stepped forward, a woman in front of her, late 50s, blonde hair sprayed into a helmet, a stiff Chanel jacket, and a face tight with impatience, turned around. The woman's eyes dropped from Amara's face, to her braids, to her cello, and then lingered on her Economy Plus boarding pass. A faint, dismissive escaped her lips. This was Mrs. Karen Covington, and she was already annoyed. Amara ignored her, focusing on the jet bridge ahead. Just get on the plane. Just get to the audition. She stepped onto the aircraft. A flight attendant with a plastic bright smile greeted her. "Welcome aboard. Oh, is that the cello for the closet?" "Yes, ma'am," Amara said. "Seat 22A. "No problem, honey. I'm Susan. Just follow me. We'll put it right up here in the first-class closet. and then you can head back to your seat." Susan led her into the plush, hushed cabin of first class. Amara kept her eyes down, feeling the scrutiny of the passengers already settled in. She just wanted to be invisible. "Right in here," Susan said, opening a narrow closet door near the bulkhead. As Amara carefully maneuvered the large case toward the closet, she heard a sharp, nasal voice from seat 1A. "Excuse me." Amara and Susan both turned. It was the woman from the gate, Mrs. Covington. She had her phone in one hand and a glass of champagne, already delivered, in the other. "Excuse me," Mrs. Covington repeated, her voice louder. "What do you think you're doing? That closet is for our coats." Susan, the flight attendant, kept her smile pasted on. "It's no problem, ma'am. This is a special musical instrument. We're just stowing it per policy." "I don't care what your policy is," Covington snapped. "I'm in 1A. I paid for this space. I don't want that thing." She gestured to the cello case, taking up all the room. "And besides, she," her eyes raked over Amara, "is clearly not supposed to be up here. I saw her ticket. She's in the back." Amara felt a hot flush of embarrassment. "Mum, the airline confirmed this. It's the only place it fits." "Did I ask you?" Covington shot back, her voice dripping with venom. "I was speaking to the flight attendant. Your people are always trying to bend the rules. This is first class. It's for first-class passengers." The coded language hung in the air, heavy and toxic. "Your people." Susan, the flight attendant, now looked stressed. The smile was gone. The plane was boarding, and she had an irate, high-status passenger. She looked from the immovable Mrs. Covington to the quiet 17-year-old girl. She made a choice. "Ma'am," Susan said, turning to Amara, "I'm sorry, but this passenger is right. This space is limited. I don't think we can store this here." Amara's blood ran cold. "What?" "But the email. Your airline promised me. It's my audition. I can't check it. It will be destroyed." "Then you should have bought a seat for it," Covington sneered, taking a sip of her champagne. "I need you to step back into the galley, please," Susan said to Amara, her voice now firm, treating Amara as the problem. "You're blocking the aisle." "But where will it go?" Amara pleaded, her voice starting to shake. "We can try to find space in the back, or we'll have to gate check it." "No!" Amara's voice was sharper now, panicked. "You can't gate check this. This instrument is priceless. Your policy said—" "Ma'am, if you raise your voice," Susan warned, "we'll have a problem." I'm just trying to explain." "She's being aggressive," Mrs. Covington said loudly, leaning into the aisle. "Susan, she's being very aggressive. I have to say, I'm starting to feel threatened. She's agitated. I don't feel safe with her on this plane." That was the kill shot, the magic words. Aggressive, threatened, unsafe. Susan's eyes hardened. She grabbed her internal handset. "I need the purser at the front galley. Now, we have a non-compliant passenger." Amara stared, her mind reeling. "Non-compliant? I'm just trying to board the plane." But the machine had started. The narrative was set. A black girl, an aggressive tone, a threatened white woman in first class. Amara Washington, the girl who had never broken a rule in her life, was no longer a musician. She was a problem, and she was about to find out just how quickly her entire world could be taken away. The purser, a man named Gary, arrived with the gate agent, Frank, trailing behind him. The atmosphere in the front galley, once just a busy boarding area, was now a courtroom. Mrs. Covington, from her throne in 1A, was holding court. "And I'm telling you, Gary," she was saying, her voice a theatrical whisper that carried through the cabin. She became irate. She pushed her way up here, demanded space, and when I simply pointed out that this was the first-class cabin, she became aggressive. Frankly, I think she's unstable. Look at her. All eyes turned to Amara. She was standing frozen, her hand still on her cello case, tears of pure, unadulterated frustration welling in her eyes. The tears only served to confirm Covington's narrative. Unstable. "Ma'am," Gary, the purser, said to Amara, his voice devoid of any warmth. He was a manager, and he was managing a problem. "We have a report that you are causing a disturbance and refusing to follow crew instructions." "That's not true," Amara said, her voice trembling, which she hated. It made her sound weak. "I was just trying to store my cello. Your airline emailed me. I have it on my phone. It says I can use the closet." She fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking. Mrs. Covington scoffed. "Oh, please, anyone can forge an email. I'm a Platinum Medallion member, Gary. I spend over $100,000 a year with Global Airways. Are you going to believe me? Or a teenager in coach who is clearly trying to sneak her way into our cabin?" Gary didn't even look at Amara's phone. His decision was made. The path of least resistance was clear. Appease the Platinum member. Remove the problem. "Ma'am," he said to Amara, "Mrs. Covington is one of our most valued customers. The flight attendant, Susan, has also reported that you were non-compliant. We can't have this kind of disruption before takeoff." "Disruption? I caused a disruption." Amara pointed, incredulous at Covington. "She called me your people." Gary's face tightened. "That is a very serious accusation." "It's true, she said it. Now she's threatening me," Covington gasped, putting a hand to her chest. "She's unstable and she's threatening a passenger. I want her off this plane. I am telling you, as a loyal customer, I will not fly with that person on board. Either she goes or I go." It was an ultimatum, and in the cold calculus of corporate airlines, a 17-year-old musician with an Economy Plus ticket stood no chance against a $100,000 a year client. "Ma'am," Gary said, his voice final, "I am going to have to ask you to deplane. We will rebook you on a later flight." The words hit Amara like a physical blow. "Deplane? You're kicking me off? For this? I have an audition. I can't be on a later flight. I'll miss it. This is my whole life." "That is not our concern," Gary said coldly. "Frank, please escort the passenger back to the terminal." Frank, the gate agent, looked uncomfortable, but he put a hand on her arm. "Miss, please, let's go." Amara looked around, desperate. The other first-class passengers were pointedly looking at their phones or out the window. A few people in the economy cabin behind her were filming, their faces blank. No one spoke up. No one moved. The silence was its own kind of violence. "I didn't do anything," she whispered, the tears now flowing freely. It was the humiliation that broke her. She was being marched off a plane like a criminal. "You need to take your bag. And the cello," Gary said, gesturing to it with distaste. Amara gripped the handle of the cello case, her knuckles white. She held her head as high as she could, her back rigid, and allowed Frank to lead her down the narrow aisle. It was the longest walk of her life. Every eye was on her. She could hear Mrs. Covington say, just as she was leaving, "Good riddance. Such a scene. People are so entitled." She stepped off the jet bridge and into the terminal. The door to the plane clicked shut behind her. She stood there, shaking, in the middle of the bustling gate area, completely alone. Flight 451, her flight, her future, was on the other side of that door. She watched through the window as the ground crew pulled the jet bridge away. For a full minute, she was paralyzed. Then, the training kicked in, her father's voice in her head. "When you hit a wall, Don't panic. Analyze. Find a new path. And call me." She pulled out her phone. Her hands were trembling so badly she could barely unlock it. She found his name. Dad. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey, sweetheart, you boarding now? I'm just about to walk into the—" "Dad!" she choked out, and the sound of her own voice, so broken, made her sob. The billion-dollar deal, the boardroom, everything on Marcus Washington's end vanished. His voice went from CEO to father in a nanosecond. It was cold, sharp, and terrifyingly calm. "Amara, what happened? Talk to me." They kicked me off," she cried, hiding her face as people walked past, staring. "They kicked me off the plane. This woman, she lied, Dad. She said I was aggressive, and they just believed her. They kicked me off. The plane is leaving. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss Juilliard." There was a silence on the other end of the line. It was not a silence of shock. It was a silence of calculation. A silence Amara knew well. It was the sound of a supercomputer processing a threat and formulating a response. "Amara," Marcus said, his voice now a flat, dangerous monotone. "What is the flight number?" "Global 451, to LAX, Gate B24. Gate B24, got it. Who is the passenger?" Her name, I think I heard them call her Mrs. Covington, in 1A. "Covington, 1A, understood. Now listen to me. Stop crying. You are a Washington. You did nothing wrong. You are the victim. Do not let them see you broken. Go to the global customer service desk. Sit down and wait. Do not talk to anyone else. Do you understand?" "Yes, Dad." "I am on my way. I will handle this." "Dad, the plane it's already pushing back. It's too late." A sound that was almost a laugh, but held no humor, came through the phone. "Honey," Marcus Washington said, "it's not too late. They just think it is. Now go. I have to make a few calls." Amara hung up, wiped her eyes, and walked, with as much dignity as she could muster, toward the customer service desk. On the 80th floor of the Era Prime building in Manhattan, Marcus Washington disconnected the call. He turned to his executive board, who were all staring, waiting to close the $50 billion merger on the table. "Gentlemen," Marcus said, his voice echoing in the silent room, "you'll have to excuse me. A competitor has just made a hostile move. This meeting is over." He walked out of the room, pulling out his personal phone. He didn't call Global Airways. He didn't call their complaints department. He called David Chen, the chief pilot of his personal aviation fleet. "David," Marcus said, "where is the Gulf Stream?" "On the ground at Teterboro, Mr. Washington. Ready to go." "Good. File a new flight plan. Teterboro to JFK. I want you wheels up in 10 minutes. "To JFK, sir?" "Not from it?" "That's correct. And David, when you get to JFK, you're not going to the private hangar. You're going to taxiway Kilo. You are to position yourself directly in front of whatever's at gate B24, and you are to hold that position. Do not move for anyone. Not the tower, not the FAA, not God himself, until you hear from me. Is that clear?" There was a beat of stunned silence. "Sir, that's taxiway Kilo. That's the active path for the 31L runway. That will shut down the entire B concourse." "I am aware of that, David. I am counting on it. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Taxiway Kilo at JFK is one of the main arteries of the airport. It is the primary route that aircraft from the B concourse in Terminal 4 use to get to runway 31L, the workhorse of the entire airport. At 5:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, it was a conveyor belt of multi-ton aircraft. On board Global Flight 451, the engines whined to life. Mrs. Karen Covington settled back into seat 1A, a fresh glass of champagne in her hand. She had already posted to her private Facebook group. You simply will not believe the riffraff Global is letting on board these days. Had to have a girl removed. So aggressive. Thankfully the crew was competent. Some people just don't belong in polite society. The pilot, Captain Mark Reynolds, came on the PA. Flight attendants, please prepare for departure. Cabin, we are now pushing back. We're number 3 for takeoff, so we should be in the air in about 15 minutes. Flight time to Los Angeles is 5 hours and 40 minutes. The plane rolled backward, a smooth, powerful motion. It disconnected from the tug and began its slow, lumbering taxi toward the runway, joining the queue. From her seat, Mrs. Covington had a perfect view of the tarmac. She watched the other planes, bored. Meanwhile, at the Global Airways customer service desk, Amara sat on a hard plastic chair. A new manager, a man with a sweaty brow named Mr. Henderson, was handling her case. "Look, Ms. Washington," he was saying, typing furiously. "The purser's report is filed. It says you were disruptive and non-compliant. Now, as a gesture of goodwill, I can waive the rebooking fee. But the earliest I can get you to LAX is tomorrow at 7 a.m. You'll have to purchase a new ticket for the cello, as that seems to be the root of the problem." Amara just stared at him. "You're going to make me pay again?" "Those are the rules when a passenger is removed for cause," Henderson said, not looking up. "It wasn't for cause. The report says it was." His fingers clacked on the keyboard. He was the picture of bureaucratic indifference. Back on the tarmac, Captain Reynolds of Flight 451 was getting annoyed. The plane had stopped. They were third in line, but the line wasn't moving. "Tower, Global 451, he radioed. "We've been holding short of Kilo for 5 minutes. What's the hold-up?" The voice from the air traffic control tower came back, tight with stress. Global 451. Be advised we have an unauthorized aircraft movement on Kilo. We're trying to make contact. Hold your position." "Unauthorized?" the co-pilot muttered. "What does that mean? A drone?" "I have no idea," Reynolds said. Then they saw it. Sleek, silent, and impossibly black, a Gulfstream G652IR glided onto the taxiway from a side approach. It didn't slow down. It didn't taxi to a hangar. It taxied directly onto the center line of Kilo, perpendicular to the flow of traffic, and stopped. Its engines idled, a low, powerful hum that was pure, condensed power. It sat there, a $70 million shark blocking a pod of whales. The radio exploded. "November 1. Alpha Charlie," the tower controller snapped, his voice high. "You are on an active taxiway without clearance. You are instructed to move immediately. You are obstructing all traffic for 31L. The line of planes behind Global 451 and the 2 in front of it all ground to a halt. The entire beacon course was now frozen. A long, calm pause. Then, a new voice on the frequency. It was smooth, unhurried, and laced with steel. It was David Chen, Marcus Washington's pilot. "JFK Tower, this is November 1, Alpha Charlie. Apologies for the deviation. We are experiencing a ground operational issue, per the directive of our principal. We will be holding our position right here indefinitely. I suggest you reroute all traffic." "Reroute? We can't reroute the entire beacon course," the controller shrieked. "You move that aircraft now, or I will have Port Authority police on your wing in 60 seconds. "Negative, Tower," David replied, his voice still infuriatingly calm. "Port Authority is welcome to come. But I am under direct orders from Mr. Marcus Washington, and I can assure you, my ground operational issue is directly related to your Global Airways Flight 451. Currently number 3 in line." In the cockpit of Global 451, Captain Reynolds and his co-pilot stared at each other. "Marcus Washington?" the co-pilot whispered. as in Aeroprime Dynamics. Marcus Washington, the guy who owns the software we're using to talk to the tower right now? Captain Reynolds's blood turned to ice. He knew that name. Everyone in aviation knew that name. Marcus Washington wasn't just a billionaire. He was the man who had personally redesigned the logistical framework for half the airports in the world. He was the man who, with a single phone call, could make an entire airline systems non-compliant. "Tower," Reynolds radioed, his voice suddenly very, very humble. "Global 451. Can you, confirm the name of the principal in N1AC? "It's confirmed, Global," the tower snapped. "It's Marcus Washington, and he says he's got a problem with your flight. What the hell did you people do?" On board, the passengers were starting to get restless. The 15-minute wait had turned into 20, then 30. "Folks," Captain Reynolds came on the PA, his voice strained. We apologize for the continued delay. We seem to be, experiencing an unexpected traffic jam on the taxiway. A smaller aircraft is blocking the path. We are asking for your patience as we resolve this." Mrs. Covington huffed, annoyed. A traffic jam in the sky? Ridiculous. Utter incompetence. Back in the terminal, Mr. Henderson was still stonewalling Amara. "Look, miss, there's nothing more I can do. If you don't take the 7 a.m. flight, that's on you." "Mr. Henderson!" a voice barked from across the terminal. A gate agent was sprinting toward them, his face pale. "Mr. Henderson, you need to come with me. Now! I'm with a passenger. I don't care. The tower is on the line. The director of airport operations is on the line. And there's a G650 parked on taxiway Kilo that's shut down the entire airport. They say it's because of her." He pointed at Amara. Mr. Henderson's smug, bureaucratic mask shattered. He looked at Amara, truly looked at her for the first time. The simple clothes, the quiet demeanor. He had seen a problem. He had failed to see the power. "Her?" he squeaked. Amara's phone buzzed. It was a text from her father. "Are you at the customer service desk?" She typed. "Yes, good. Don't move. I'm coming in. They're about to be very, very helpful." The main terminal doors slid open, flanked by 2 Port Authority police officers who now looked less like an escort and more like a panicked honor guard. Was Marcus Washington. He was not a large man, but he moved with an aura of absolute gravity. He was in a $20,000 bespoke suit, his face a mask of cold, controlled fury. He didn't run, he didn't shout. He walked directly to the customer service desk, his eyes locked on Amara. He ignored Mr. Henderson completely. He put his hands on Amara's shoulders. "Are you okay? Did they touch you?" "I'm okay, Dad. I'm okay." He kissed her on the forehead. Only then did he turn to the trembling Mr. Henderson. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the terminal noise like a scalpel. "My name is Marcus Washington. That," he pointed out the window at the now visible blockade on the taxiway, "is my aircraft, and that," he pointed at the gate, "is your aircraft, Global 451. Here is what is going to happen." Henderson was wiping his face with a handkerchief. "Mr. Washington, sir, I assure you, this is a terrible misunderstanding." "You will stop talking," Marcus said. Henderson's mouth snapped shut. "1, Marcus continued, "your plane is not moving. It will sit on that tarmac until my pilot's flight plan to Los Angeles is approved, refueled, and ready. 2, my daughter will be joining me on my aircraft. 3, you will retrieve every single piece of her checked luggage from the belly of that plane. Now." But sir, the luggage is loaded. We can't." "You will unload it," Marcus commanded. "You have shut down an airport over a cello. You will now search a 767 for a suitcase. And 4, Marcus said, leaning in. You, personally, will go to that gate. You will board that plane. You will find the flight attendant named Susan and the passenger in 1A named Covington, and you will escort them both off the aircraft. They are not flying to Los Angeles today. Henderson's jaw dropped. Sir, I can't remove a platinum passenger. You can, Marcus said. And you will. Or, in approximately 10 minutes, my legal team will file an injunction against Global Airways for racial discrimination and a civil suit against this airport for breach of contract. And the Aeroprime software that is currently routing every piece of baggage and every flight plan you have, I'll turn it off. Your entire system will go dark. Am I clear? Henderson, shaking, just nodded. Good, Marcus said, turning his back on him. Now, Amara, let's go get your bags. The passengers on Global Flight 451 had moved from restless to mutinous. It had been 45 minutes. They were sitting on a stationary plane, and the pilot's traffic jam excuse was wearing thin. In the cockpit, Captain Reynolds was in a cold sweat, his headset pressed to his ear. He wasn't talking to the tower. He was talking to the Global Airways Director of Operations, who was patching in their emergency legal counsel. The news was not good. You're telling me, the lawyer on the phone seethed, that your crew ejected a 17-year-old girl with a pre-approved musical instrument because a platinum member felt threatened? And this girl is Marcus Washington's daughter? That's the report I'm getting from the purser, Reynolds said, shooting a murderous look toward the cabin. Mark, you need to understand the situation, the director said. Washington isn't bluffing. He will ground our fleet. He is the system. You have to fix this. Now. What do you want me to do? He's blocking the taxiway with a G650. You're going to have to deplane the passenger. Covington. What? I can't. She'll sue us. She will sue us, the lawyer corrected. But Washington's lawsuit will end us. End the entire airline. Get her off the plane, Mark, and get that flight attendant, Susan, off, both of them. Consider them off duty. That's the demand. Captain Reynolds hung up the headset and undid his harness. He looked at his co-pilot. Stay here. Don't talk to anyone. He emerged from the cockpit, his face grim. He walked straight to 1A. Mrs. Covington was complaining loudly to the purser. Gary. This is the worst service I have ever received. First the disturbance, now this delay. I expect a full refund and 100,000 bonus miles. Mrs. Covington, Captain Reynolds said, his voice flat. She turned, surprised. Captain, finally, are you going to tell us what's going on? Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to gather your personal belongings and come with me. Covington's face, a mask of entitlement, crumpled into confusion. What? Why? Are we switching planes? No, ma'am. You are deplaning. You will not be flying with us today. The entire first-class cabin went silent. I beg your pardon? Covington scoffed. You can't be serious. I am a platinum member. Do you know who I am? Yes, ma'am, we do, Reynolds said, his patience gone. And apparently you didn't know who she was. Who? That aggressive girl? That aggressive girl was Amara Washington, and her father, Marcus Washington, has just shut down the entire Beacon course by parking his private jet on the taxiway. He has demanded your removal, so please, get your things. You are getting off. The color drained from Karen Covington's face. The name Marcus Washington meant nothing to her. But shut down the airport, and private jet certainly did. She had picked a fight, assuming she was the most important person in the room. She had been disastrously wrong. This is outrageous. You're capitulating to a terrorist, she shrieked. Ma'am, you can leave the plane, or you can be removed by Port Authority police. The choice is yours, but you are delaying 200 other people." At that moment, the plane's door opened. A flustered Mr. Henderson, the terminal manager, stepped on, flanked by 2 armed Port Authority officers. "Mrs. Covington," Henderson said, trying to sound official, "we need you to come with us. Now." The sight of the police broke her. This was a humiliation she could not fight. Her power, built on loyalty cards and a shrill voice, had just met real power, built on infrastructure and billions of dollars. She began to grab her designer purse, her face a knot of fury and shame. "This is not the end of this. I will have all of your jobs," she hissed. "No, ma'am," Captain Reynolds said. "You won't." As the officers escorted a sputtering Karen Covington up the jet bridge, Reynolds turned to Susan, the flight attendant, who was cowering in the galley. "Susan, you too. Get your bag. You're off duty." "What?" "Captain, I was just following procedure. She said she felt threatened." "You used procedure to justify racism, and it just cost this airline a fortune," Reynolds snarled. "You sided with a bully against a kid. You made the wrong call. Now get off my plane." Susan burst into tears, grabbing her rollerboard. Back in the terminal, Amara and Marcus watched the scene unfold. First, a red-faced, furious Karen Covington was marched into the terminal by the police. She looked over, saw Amara standing beside Marcus, and the realization hit her. She lunged. "You!" she screamed. "You did this! You little—" The police officers didn't let her get within 10 feet. "Ma'am, you need to keep moving." "Do you know what she did?" Covington yelled at the officers, at the terminal, at anyone. "She assaulted me. I'm the victim." But no one was listening. The narrative had been ripped from her control. She was no longer the threatened victim. She was the crazy lady being hauled out by police. Next came Susan, crying, pulling her bag. She saw Amara and just looked away, her face burning with shame. Mr. Henderson returned, sweating profusely. "Mr. Washington, sir, the passengers have been removed. We are retrieving your daughter's luggage from the hold as we speak." "Good," Marcus said. He looked at Amara. "See, a simple customer service issue." Amara wasn't smiling. She was watching Covington, who was now detained by the customer service desk, trying to rebook her own flight, only to be told her platinum status was under review, and all her flights had been cancelled. "Dad," Amara said quietly, "did you have to do all this? Shut everything down?" Marcus turned to her, his expression softening. He put a hand on her cheek. "Amara," he said, "I have spent my entire life building systems, building a company, building a name. I did it so that my family, so that you, would never, ever have to go through what my parents went through. So you would never be powerless." He gestured to the chaos, the grounded plane, the frantic managers, the weeping flight attendant. "Today, those people tried to make you powerless. They used their tiny bit of authority to crush you, just because they could. They didn't see a musician. They didn't see a 17-year-old girl. They saw what they wanted to see, and they decided you were less than." He looked her in the eye. "I didn't do this to be a bully, Amara. I did this to remind them, and to remind you, that you are not less than. You are more. When they use their power to push you down, you must use your power to remind them of the rules of gravity. What they did was wrong, and I will not, ever, let that stand. Not while I'm alive." A baggage handler ran up, pulling Amara's 2 suitcases and carefully her cello. "We have them, Mr. Washington. All accounted for." "Thank you," Marcus said. He handed the man a $100 bill. "Now, Mr. Henderson, I believe my pilot has just been cleared for takeoff." Henderson, on his phone, nodded. "Yes, sir. The, ground operational issue seems to be resolved. Your plane is cleared for 31L. "Wonderful," Marcus said. He took Amara's cello case. "Let's go, sweetheart. You've got an audition to get to." The walk from the terminal to the black Gulf Stream was a study in contrasts. Amara had been marched through the terminal as a pariah. She was now escorted across the tarmac by the Director of Airport Operations, who carried her suitcases for her. Captain Reynolds of Global 451, watching from his cockpit window, finally got the all clear from the tower. The sleek black jet had moved, taxiing gracefully toward the runway. His plane, now an hour and 20 minutes behind schedule, was cleared to follow. But the drama on board was just beginning. As soon as the seatbelt sign was off, the plane's Wi-Fi connected, and the videos, suppressed during the ground stop, hit the internet like a wildfire. It started with a passenger in seat 23B who had filmed the initial confrontation. The video was grainy, but the audio was crystal clear. "Covington, your people are always trying to bend the rules." Amara, "Ma'am, the airline confirmed this." Covington, "I feel threatened. She's being very aggressive." Susan, the FA, "Ma'am, if you raise your voice, we'll have a problem." The video was posted to TikTok with the caption, "Global Airways flight attendant and Karen in 1A get black teen kicked off flight for having a cello." Within 10 minutes, it had 1 million views. A second video surfaced, filmed by a passenger at the gate, showing Amara being escorted off, crying. A third video, the best of all, was filmed from the window of Flight 451, showing the black Georgs 50 blocking the taxiway. The passenger, a tech blogger, had recognized the tail number. "This is insane," the blogger narrated. "We're stuck on the tarmac at JFK because Marcus Washington's private jet is blocking the runway. Rumor is, they kicked his daughter off our flight. Oh, my God." By the time Global 451 was over Pennsylvania, Global Airways, Marcus Washington, and Justice for Amara were the top 3 trending topics on X, formerly Twitter. The airline's corporate office was in full-blown panic. Their stock, in after-hours trading, had already dipped 8%. The story was pieced together by online sleuths in real time. They identified Karen Covington. Her full name was visible on her luggage tag in one of the videos. She was revealed to be a regional vice president at a major investment bank, Wells Fargo. By the time Flight 451 was over Ohio, Wells Fargo's public relations email was receiving 10,000 messages a minute. Susan, the flight attendant, was identified by her name tag. Her social media, full of smiling vacation photos, was flooded with snake and clown emojis. Global Airways' CEO, a man named Robert Miller, was pulled out of a dinner. He saw the videos, he saw the stock ticker, and he saw the name Marcus Washington. He didn't call his PR team. He called his legal team. "How bad is it?" Miller demanded. "It's biblical, Bob," the lawyer said. "He didn't just sue us. He filed a formal complaint with the FAA, citing safety and security protocol violations by our crew. He filed a discrimination lawsuit with the DOJ, and his company, Aeroprime, has just triggered the breach of ethics clause in their contract with us. They're pulling their software. As of midnight tonight, we lose our navigation and logistics support." Miller's blood ran cold. "He's grounding us. That'll ground the entire airline." "That's the point, Bob. You need to fix this. Apologize. Now." Miller frantically tried to get a number for Marcus Washington, but Washington wasn't picking up. He was at 45,000 feet, in a cabin far quieter than Global 451. Amara sat on a cream-colored leather seat that was softer than her bed at home. The Gulf Stream was silent. a whisper in the sky. Her cello, Gabriel, was securely strapped into its own seat across from her. A flight attendant, a kind woman named Maria, had served her a full dinner of pan-seared salmon and roasted vegetables, followed by a warm chocolate lava cake. Amara was staring out the window at the endless carpet of stars. "You're quiet," Marcus said from the seat opposite her. He had a tablet in his hand, and the muted stock ticker in the corner of the screen was bright red. "I'm just thinking," Amara said. "About what?" "That woman, Mrs. Covington, and Susan. Their lives they're going to be ruined, aren't they?" Marcus set his tablet down. "Actions have consequences, Amara. This is not a game. They made a choice. They chose cruelty. They chose prejudice. They assumed you were disposable. They were wrong. The consequences are not my doing. They are the result of their actions. The world is just catching up." "But she's getting death threats, Dad. I saw it before we took off. People are posting her address." "That part is wrong," Marcus agreed, his face serious. "That is the dark side of a mob. But the accountability? That is necessary. I'll have my team contact the platform to pull any doxing material. We are not them. We don't incite violence, but we demand justice. There's a difference." He leaned forward. "Let me tell you what really would have happened if I wasn't me. You would have been kicked off. You would have been marked in their system as disruptive. You would have missed your audition. That failure, that no, would have been a scar on you for years. You would have been forced to pay for another flight. You would have been out thousands of dollars for the cello you should have bought a seat for. You would have been powerless. And they would have finished their champagne, landed in LA, and never thought about you again. That is the injustice I was fighting." Amara nodded slowly. I know. I know. Thank you, Dad. I was just so scared." "I know," he said softly, "but you're not scared now. You're safe." "But I still missed it," she whispered, the reality finally sinking in. "Even with all this, the audition slot was for 10 a.m. tomorrow. We won't even land until midnight. It's over." Marcus Washington smiled. A slow, genuine smile. "Oh, sweetheart," he said, picking up his phone. "You're thinking like they do. You're still playing by their rules. You think I went to all this trouble to let you miss the audition?" He hit a number on his speed dial. "Dad, who are you calling? It's 10 p.m. in New York." The phone picked up. "David?" Marcus said. "You're on with Marcus." Amara's eyes went wide. "David? As in David Lieberman? The president of Juilliard?" "Hey, Marcus," a cheerful voice came through the speakerphone. "I heard you were redesigning the New York skyline, or at least the taxiways. Good to hear from you. What's going on?" "David, my apologies for the late call," Marcus said. "I'm on my way to LA with my daughter, Amara. She's the cellist I told you about." "Oh, yes. The Elgar recording you sent me. Breathtaking. A true talent. She's auditioning tomorrow, isn't she?" "She was," Marcus said, his voice level. "She was the victim of a rather public and ugly incident on her flight. We're on my plane now, but she's missed her 10 a.m. slot." There was a pause. "An incident? Is she all right?" "She is now," Marcus said. Good. "Well, we can't have that. A talent like that. No. Tell you what, I'm flying to LA tomorrow myself for the Philharmonic benefit. I land at 2 p.m. Can you have her at the Colburn School Auditorium at 4 p.m.? Amara gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. 4 p.m. would be perfect, David. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank her. The recording was all I needed. This is just a formality. And Marcus, give Global Airways hell from me. Good night." The line clicked off. Marcus looked at his daughter, whose eyes were shining with tears, but this time they were not tears of fear. "You see, Amara," he said, "you never, ever let them make you miss your audition. You just find a different stage." When Global Airways Flight 451 landed at LAX 2 hours late, it was met by a phalanx of news crews. The passengers, already furious about the delay, were swarmed with microphones the moment they entered the terminal. "What happened on that plane? Did you see the girl get kicked off? Is it true Marcus Washington shut down JFK?" The airline had no comment, but the passengers did. "It was disgusting," one man said to a local news camera. "That woman in 1A, Covington, she was awful. The girl did nothing. The flight attendant just folded. It was a total abuse of power." The online fallout was a nuclear winter for the antagonists. By 9 a.m. the next morning, Wells Fargo had released a statement. "We have been made aware of an incident involving one of our employees. The behavior in the video is deeply disturbing and does not align with our company's values of diversity and inclusion. Ms. Karen Covington is no longer employed by Wells Fargo, effective immediately." By 10 a.m., Global Airways' stock had dropped a catastrophic 22%. The CIO, Robert Miller, had been forced to schedule an emergency press conference. He stood at a podium, his face ashen. "Global Airways offers its deepest, most sincere apologies to Ms. Amara Washington. We have failed her. This incident was a result of a catastrophic failure of our policies and a shocking lack of judgment from our crew. The employees involved, including the purser and flight attendant, have been terminated. We have launched a full, root and branch investigation. We are attempting to contact Mr. Washington to offer our personal apologies and compensation." A reporter shouted, "Is it true Aeroprime Dynamics has terminated your contract? Can your airline even fly tomorrow?" Miller visibly flinched. "We are in active negotiations with Mr. Washington's company." Meanwhile, at the Colburn School in downtown Los Angeles, Amara Washington was not watching the news. She was on a stage, under a single spotlight, her cello resting against her. In the 2,000-seat auditorium, there were only 2 people: her father, Marcus, in the 10th row, and David Lieberman, the president of Juilliard, in the 5th. "No need to be nervous, Amara," Lieberman said, his voice warm. "Just play what you love." Amara closed her eyes. She took a deep breath, shutting out the plane, the airport, Mrs. Covington, the shame. She shut out everything except the music. And then she played. She played Bach, she played Elgar, she played a modern, frantic piece by a composer her mother had loved. The music filled the hall, a sound so rich and full of life it was almost tangible. It was a sound of sorrow, of anger, and finally, of transcendent triumph. When the last note faded, there was a long, ringing silence. Marcus Washington was weeping silently, a proud, broken smile on his face. David Lieberman stood up. He didn't just applaud, he was beaming. "Well," Lieberman said, "I have auditioned over 5,000 musicians in my career. That was not an audition, Miss Washington. That was a performance." He walked toward the stage. "The 10 a.m. slot tomorrow was for a general scholarship. That's not for you." Amara's heart sank. "It's not for me." "That's for people who are merely good," Lieberman continued. "The David Rubenstein Scholarship, our top prize, full tuition, room, board, and a stipend, is by invitation only. And Ms. Washington, I am personally inviting you. Welcome to Juilliard." Amara stood up, her legs shaking, as the president of Juilliard, one of the most powerful men in the world of classical music, extended his hand. Later that evening, Marcus and Amara were on the tarmac at LAX, walking back toward the G650 to fly home. Marcus's phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Mr. Washington, my name is Robert Miller, CEO of Global Airways. I am begging you for 5 minutes of your time. Your contract, we are grounded. You're going to put 50,000 people out of work. Please, what can we do? What do you want? Marcus looked at the text. He looked at Amara, who was walking ahead, her cello case on her back, her face turned up toward the sky. She looked free. He typed a reply. Mr. Miller, what I wanted was for your crew to treat my daughter with basic human dignity. What I want now is for you to fund a $50 million scholarship endowment for underprivileged musicians to be administered by the Juilliard School. You will also implement a mandatory, company-wide de-escalation and racial bias training program to be designed and audited by a third-party firm. My firm. Do that, and Aero Prime will consider reinstating your software on a probationary basis. A reply came back almost instantly. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Marcus put his phone away and quickened his pace to catch up with his daughter. He put his arm around her. Ready to go home, superstar? I'm ready, Dad. As they boarded the jet, Amara looked back. At the next terminal, a Global Airways 797, the same type of plane she had been kicked off, was boarding. It was flying on time. The system was working again. But for thousands of people, a shamed CEO, a fired flight attendant, a disgraced executive, and one newly minted Juilliard scholar, the world had been permanently and justly knocked off its axis. The story of Global Flight 451 became a legend in corporate and aviation circles, a cautionary tale about the difference between rules and justice. The hard karma didn't just strike, it reset the entire board. For Karen Covington, fired from her high-paying job, she became a pariah. The nickname Tarmac Karen followed her everywhere. She was unemployable in the finance world, which runs on reputation. She filed a lawsuit against Global Airways for capitulating to a threat, but it was summarily dismissed. The airline's lawyers produced a file of over 24 prior complaints about her behavior toward staff. Her platinum status was not just revoked, she was banned from Global Airways for life. The last anyone heard, she had sold her Upper East Side apartment and moved to Florida, her social and professional life in ruins. For Susan the flight attendant and Gary the purser, both were fired for gross violation of company policy and failure to de-escalate. They tried to sue for wrongful termination. Marcus Washington's legal team countersued them personally for civil damages, including emotional distress and defamation against Amara. They quickly dropped their suit. Blacklisted by major carriers, they were forced to find work outside the industry they had built their lives in. For Mr. Henderson, the terminal manager, whose bureaucratic indifference was the final nail, was demoted. He was reassigned to baggage handling on the night shift. For Global Airways, the airline narrowly avoided bankruptcy. They paid the $50 million endowment, which became the Amara Washington Fund for Musical Excellence. Their new mandatory bias training, designed by Aero Prime's ethics division, became the new industry standard, eventually adopted by the FAA. Their CEO, Robert Miller, retired 6 months later. The airline survived, but it was forever humbled, a permanent scar on its reputation. And for Amara, she didn't just attend Juilliard. She thrived. Her story, which she never told herself, but which everyone knew, gave her a quiet gravity. She became a symbol, not of victimhood, but of grace under pressure. Her debut performance at Lincoln Center 2 years later was a sellout. The final piece she played was Elgar's cello concerto, the one she was supposed to audition with. Her father sat in the front row. As the final, soaring note of the cello filled the hall, Marcus looked at his daughter. Bathed in the spotlight she had so truly earned. The world had tried to tell her she didn't belong. He had simply reminded the world that, in fact, it belonged to her. And that's the incredible true-life story of Amara and Marcus Washington. This wasn't just about a plane. It was about a system. A system that allowed a 17-year-old girl to be humiliated, and the same system that gave her father the power to burn it all down. Karma, in this story, wasn't just a coincidence. It was a consequence. It was the direct result of a father who had built an empire, not just of money, but of leverage, to protect his family from the very prejudice he knew was waiting. Mrs. Covington and the global crew made a bet that Amara was powerless. They lost. What do you think? Was Marcus Washington's response an epic act of justice, or did he go too far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you were moved by this story, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to see it, and make sure you subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable true-life stories where karma hits back hard. Thanks for watching.